The U.S. has announced sanctions on 25 China-based companies allegedly involved in the production of fentanyl. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the drug supply chain often starts with chemical companies in China. The sanctions will freeze the company's U.S. assets and bar Americans from dealing with them. China opposes the measures, saying that their government has been cracking down on drug crimes. And joining us now to weigh in on this and more is Gordon Chang, author of The Coming Collapse of China and the Great U.S.-China Tech War. Gordon, great to be with you as always. A lot to get to. But first, I want to get your thoughts on this move by the Biden administration. Do you think it's a good strategy, and do you think it will help to stop the flow of fentanyl into the U.S.?
Well, I think it's the start of a good strategy, and no, it won't stop the flow of fentanyl in the U.S. We got to remember that Xi Jinping, the Chinese ruler, and the Communist Party are firmly behind the fentanyl gangs. They support them. They support them with diplomatic initiatives. Also, the Chinese state banks launder the money proceeds from fentanyl. So until we go to the top of the chain, we're really not going to do very much. We need to go after the Communist Party, Xi Jinping, and the Chinese banks, and then we might actually get somewhere.
Gordon, another thing I want to touch on is this upcoming visit of China's foreign minister. He's expected to come to D.C. later this month. What do you think will come from this visit? And do you think it will help with U.S.-China relations, which seem to be growing more tense?
Yeah, when Wang Yi comes to the U.S., I'm sure that he'll have pleasant conversations with the Biden administration. But I really don't see this resulting in very much, even if it does end up in a meeting between Xi Jinping and President Biden. That would be at the APEC summit in San Francisco in November. The Chinese right now are extremely arrogant. Biden has appeared to be desperate for communication. That is making Xi Jinping even more difficult to deal with. So this is not going in the right direction. Biden needs to do something he doesn't want to, which is to start getting really tough with the Chinese to show them that he has changed his position on China. Until he does that, we're going to end up with more and more tension.
On a different note, China now has some new rules, I understand, when it comes to phone apps. And apparently Apple developers will now need to show proof of a Chinese government license before releasing their apps in China. Gordon, talk to us more about this. I mean, how significant is this, and what does this all signal?
Well, for Apple, their competitive advantage in China is that it has a lot of apps on the App Store. That's what distinguishes it from commodity phones and Huawei's phones. Once you take away that competitive advantage, then Apple is just like any other phone in China, except a lot more expensive. So this really is an attempt to undermine Apple's position in China. And I actually think that Apple really has no long-term future in that country as long as the Communist Party is in charge.
And Gordon, I'm curious, what else are you following? What's on your radar?
Well, on Monday, an unidentified boat rammed a Philippine fishing craft at Scarborough Shoal in the South China Sea, killing 3 Filipino fishermen. China has crossed the line, obviously, and they've got a bloodlust in Beijing. If they get away with killing 3, they are going to continue. So really, this is where we write our history for this next decade. The Biden administration has tried to avoid confrontation, just like it did in 2012 at Scarborough. It didn't work. The Chinese just became more arrogant when the United States backed down. So if we back down now, I think we start a cycle towards conflict.
Yeah, a lot to talk about, definitely. No shortage of news there coming out of China. Gordon, great to be with you as always. Appreciate it. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Tracy.